Okay, so today we're going to get into the interface of Photoshop. And so right now we are going to either open up Photoshop, and this is your opening screen when you get into Photoshop, and it shows your recent files. You have a new button, you have an open button, or you can either select a new document by clicking on new here. You can click on file and new. That's another way of getting a new file. But for this project, our app project, we are going to be using canvases in the size of an iPhone 6. Not an iPhone 6 Plus, but an iPhone 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to go File and New, and this brings up this window, and we want to make sure that we are selecting mobile. So you see I've selected mobile right there, and then you have different sizes for mobile, and we want to choose iPhone 6. So make sure that you get that blue outline on iPhone 6, and then click create. And this creates an artboard, and you will have multiple artboards in this file. And artboards have only been introduced since CC 2017. So if you have a lower version than that, you need to upgrade to CC 2017 to work with artboards. And so with artboards, we're going to have an artboard for every screen in our app. And in order for us to add artboards, we can come over here to the move tool right here, and I'll get into the move tool in a little bit. But if you click and hold underneath the move tool, there's the artboard tool. Now notice nothing has happened. And if I click on it, I go back to the move tool. But if you come over here to your layers panel, and in the layers panel, you click on the word Artboard 1. Now Artboard 1, you can change the name of Artboard 1 to anything like loading screen. So if I click and hit return, let's see, maybe double click. There we go. I double clicked on the word Artboard 1, and we can type in loading screen and hit enter. Now you can see that Artboard 1 has a loading screen. So this artboard is the exact size of the screen of a iPhone 6. And if you want to add more artboards, if you want to add an artboard to the right of it, you hit this plus sign, and that creates another artboard. And maybe this is your home screen. So we can come over here, double click on this, and type in home. All right, let's add, and maybe this home screen is not the size of an iPhone 6, but it actually scrolls, and you can have scrolling screens in this project. If you look at your Facebook app, it scrolls. So if you want something that scrolls, you can grab this little handle and drag it down, and drag it down as far as you want it to be. It'll create more space. And so now you have this really long scrolling screen that you can design, and you can actually have it scroll in InVision, which that's where we're going to put all this together into to create the high fidelity prototype. So within this, let's go back to when we're selecting this loading screen, we're selecting this artboard. Notice this properties panel shows up, and it tells us what the width of it is and what the height of it is. So the properties panel right here is really important. I can close this down by hitting this little arrow to close that down. The next thing we can work with is the move tool. Now the move tool moves things, but I do not have anything to move right now. So I'm going to add something into the field. Say I want to have a header across the top of the page. I can come down, let's go past the move tool and kind of scroll down. Let's get ahead of ourselves, go all the way down the toolbox, down to the shape area. And if I click and hold on this, I have different ways of different types of shapes. And so I'm just going to use a rectangle tool, and I'm going to create a header for my home screen. But notice I put it in the loading screen. And so I don't want it there. I want it over here in the home screen. That's when we can use our move tool. And so we click on the move tool, and now I can move it over to the home screen. Notice that when we do this, we have this rectangle selected. We have our properties window right here, and it shows the width and it shows the height. It shows the color. It shows the stroke. So it has a black color and no stroke. That's what that little red line is showing. You can actually curve things. You have rounded corners, and with this link right here, it'll curve all the corners the same way. So if I go like this, and I click off of it, you can see now it has rounded corners. If I select on it again, this rectangle, we can go back to these rounded corners and make them 0. Or if you wanted to have just rounded corners on one side or just on the bottom, you would break this link. So now it's not black. Now it is got a black background. That means it's activated. Now it's deactivated, and so I can have a 20 pixel and a 20 pixel like that. Click off of it, and we can see that now it's got this kind of rounded shape at the bottom, but it's sharp at the top. All right. So we could change the color of this. We can click on the black area, and we can choose any colors in here. We can select colors this way by clicking this color selector, and we can change the hue to any color we want, any color in the rainbow, and any saturation. If you remember, this is highly saturated. This is really lightly saturated, so if you just want a little bit of green. If you want a shade, then you kind of come down into the black area. And so this would create a certain color. If you had a color that you liked in a photograph, you could always eyedropper that color. Let's go to, let's close this down. And I'm going to File, and I happen to have a recent image that I can open up. That's not it. Here's one. All right. So if I wanted to like pick out this kind of green in the background, I could open up this image. So you can see this little tab means that this image is open, but my other one is hidden behind it in the tab. I can come down to this eyedropper tool, and I want you to look down here in this area when I click the eyedropper on certain colors. So if I wanted this really kind of yellowy green, if I click on it, notice that this color right here turned that yellowy green. If I wanted more of a pine green, I click on that, and then that's created right there. And you can see the different colors as I eyedropper all around. So how do I get this color? I can swap back to this one, and that green stays there. And I can double click on this, and it shows up the color right here, and you can see the color in the RGB or CMYK or hexadecimal, and you could add it to swatches. So if I click on that and call it light green, and there's the light green right there. And so now it always wants me to add it to a library, and I don't really need to worry about that right now. But if I come back and select this and go to the properties, I can go and choose that green now.